Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time we're reviewing on Halloween 2 2009 film review. Now, as you know, Halloween 2 is meant to be a 2009 American slasher film that was written, directed and produced by Rob Zombie, and was meant to kind of be the next entry in the kind of Rob Zombie horror movies. Now, the premise of the movie is meant to follow Laurie, who is slowly rebuilt her life, is now living with her best friend Annie and her father, who's the sheriff. So we do kind of see how Laurie tries to slowly put her life back together, but at the same time deals with the kind of experience that she dealt with, which does work. And I think we've all had a moment where we've had a traumatic experience and try to move past it. So, of course, once again, you do have Michael Myers, who had survived the events of the first film. And pretty much throughout the movie, that he pretty much is met by the ghostly spirit of his mum. Now, I kind of feel when you have the ghostly spirit character, it sort of works in stuff like We Happy Few, as you had Ollie and also Margaret kind of meeting the Victoria and Ollie meeting the kind of characters as representations of what they were. When you kind of had Guy Garner as a represent of House Guilt, it worked because these were characters who were meant to sort of be there. I just feel having a supernatural story with Halloween doesn't really work. It just feels like Rob Zombie wanted to go for a more supernatural story. And in this one, it seems to suggest that Laurie and Michael are linked and connected, which feels like I'm watching a version of Sixth Sense. And again, I think what the film does damage as well is how they portray Loomis as an arrogant, selfish, immature dick, and tries to promote this book and himself. Again, this really does ruin Loomis's character from the first film. In the first film, he was meant to kind of be responsible for what happened to Michael. He was kind of meant to try and help people in his own way. And you can tell his publicist is openly disgusted with Loomis's actions. And what's even worse is when he's been confronted by one of the victim's relatives, you can tell Loomis shows no guilt in his actions. And when he does try to set things right, it's clear he's doing this more for himself, as he sees this as a big chance to get more fame. And really, word of advice to anyone who's a writer: don't forcibly redeem a character if they're going to cross a line like this. And throughout the movie, it just feels like they try and add a lot of supernatural elements that really didn't forcibly need to be, and it leaves you confusing to what's going on. And again, I know what Rob Zombie was trying to do was go for something different, but the point of Halloween, it was meant to kind of be like a typical slasher film. The thing about serial killers as well as slasher films is that people see animals and people as playthings. They have no regard for human life. And I think trying to add a supernatural element in this just forcibly ruins it. And again, there was the director's cut that would have also made Laurie into a completely unlikable character. And even the ending would have just the ending just sort of ended it there and there. But I feel this one, that they do leave room for a sequel, and they did. And there were plans to do another one called Halloween 3D that was going to be released in 2012. And there were plans to have a retcon once again. But thankfully, Productions bought out Halloween and did the 2018 one that retcons the events of the original. And I feel like Halloween 2 does try to keep a lot of the elements from the film, like Michael's over-the-top killing, the stuff he does. It's still there, but it feels it's really trying to go for a supernatural story, which wasn't what Halloween was. So, I think Halloween 2 burnt the jack-o'-lantern and burnt down the house. It just feels really enforced, didn't know what it was doing. It deserves a thumbs down. Not the best, and not the greatest. And the Rob Zombie Halloween series isn't great, but it's kind of alright. I just think if Rob Zombie had more time with the second one, maybe try to have a good story than a supernatural one. So it deserves the series a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but kind of okay. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.